Do-Rag Wisdom here, folks, and welcome to Earth Date Y2K 18.03.26. 225 days left until the mid-year elections, and a time when we can start getting our democratic republic back. Isaiah 11:6, and a little child shall lead them. What I wanted to happen did. A massive march on Washington to protest gun violence. The NRA, and by association, the traitor Trump. Marches happened all over our country and around the world. And I am sad that it had to happen in the wake of more innocents. 17 people this time being slaughtered by another wacko with an assault weapon. It is quite logical to me that a violent president would be supported and copied by rabid followers. Since the accidental election of the birther creep, we are becoming a more violent and hate-filled country. And I would have fallen into even greater despair if not for the brave young people who came out to protest gun violence, hate, and insanity. Children growing up in the shadow of baby bungler neglect and hypocrisy came out in force to participate in the March for Our Lives without violence, and stood with courage against all that the NRA stands for, and by association, once again, stood up against what the GOP and traitor Trump stand for. Get ready for the fascists and their right-wing conspiracy theorists to claim that all these young people who organized this march were actually pawns of Hillary Clinton, and that all their words were really put into their mouths by George Clooney. Scripts written by the liberal elite of Hollywood. Get ready for these right-wing scum to say that these young people could not have been as wise to say what they were saying, that they were dupes, actors, and liars. Just get ready. Get ready for them to say that. Like that creep Santorum who said, why don't these kids go out and learn CPR? Why don't they go out and learn CPR? Can you imagine that shit? I'm not surprised. And the fact that 50% of us did not vote in the last election caused the fact that most of our government is now run by creeps like that. And I say to these right-wing, religious extremist hypocrites, these totalitarian fascist traitors who stand against everything our country stands for, shut the fuck up! You are old, and these folks, these young people, they're young, yeah, young. Yours and my days are numbered on this beleaguered planet. And they are the future. My baby bungler generation made some sacrifices, yes. Yes. Including being killed in the Vietnam War and being stomped and murdered in protest. Kent State. But they dropped the ball when they did not carry through and corrupted themselves hypocritically with the same things they protested against. My generation also famously turned on, tuned out, and dropped out. My generation of bunglers had fun walking around naked, especially in public, and screwing each other while covered with crab lice. And ultimately, we have cursed these young people with the likes of traitor Trump. And, you know, he's putting justices in now. Maybe even another Supreme Court justice who will curse this young generation for the next 40 effing years. Wow, what a bunch of idiots, these baby bunglers. a disgrace to all those folks, members of my generation, who gave their lives either in war or in protest. I was a teacher for 31 years, 28 of those in the New York City school system. Young people were hard to work with because they were not really being raised. Yet I had more fun with them than I had dealing with the adult bureaucrats who ran things. I am happy for at least one thing. I have grown old without having jealousy or hatred for the young people. In fact, I've grown much more fond of them over the years and feel extremely sad for what my generation is leaving them with. I always believed in leaving a pristine, untouched campsite, ready for the next visitors. The generation of peace, the baby bunglers, with Donald Shithead at its urinal, pressing that red button. What a gift from my generation. What a fucking gift. When I was watching this march last weekend, this historic march in these historic times, I started to cry. I was weeping. I felt like smacking myself in the head, but I knew that what I was feeling was real. I just couldn't stand seeing it. It was imagining what it was like to come home and after a day of working or doing what your routine was and finding out that one of your loved ones had been slaughtered. I also knew that we have finally come to a moment in these historic times when innocence and the vigor of our young people and their energy and with their ideals will lead us out of this darkness and back on our path to true human democracy. The biblical verse, Isaiah 11:6, teaches some valuable lessons that the religious extremists, hypocrites of our terror Trump era have forgotten. But not me, and certainly not the children who organized the historic march for our lives. They are leading us, and hopefully one day it won't be pretend.